Okay, cool. So I'm going to first start with the Flex plugin, right? Just mute that. Okay, cool. When I first start you guys with the first Flex plugin. Very nice plugin. Came out with Fruity 20, right? Does not exist in Fruity 12 as far as this guy says. And nice thing about plugins that you need to understand is that in every plugin, how you start is by first deciding the sound, the timbre of the sound, the type of sound you want to work with. So you develop the sound first. That's the most important part, right? After you've developed the sound, then you start coming here and adding certain effects or subtracting using filters, taking away from the sound, or adding to the sound using effects, you understand, to create your final sound that you will use going forward, right? So it's important to understand that from the word go, when you start actually working on a plugin, right, the first things first, you determine your sound. Then you decide, okay, now fine, do I want to filter it, or do I want to filter it? How do I want to filter it, right? How do I want the sound to play over time when I'm pressing a note, right? Do I want it to have delay, or do I want it to have reverb, etc., etc.? You get what I'm saying? So, in the cases of Flex then, in terms of sound creation, what they have taken away is the ability of you creating your sound from scratch. You get? So, they then give you a bunch of presets that you can use to create the sound itself, or to decide which sound you want to start off with, right? So you can choose presets by going into these different menus here as you go, right? And then choose your preset by clicking on it. For example, I clicked here, I don't know what I'm going to hear. That really sucks. And then if I go here, I can pick another sound. Maybe I can go to simpler calculate and then hear that. You understand? Already, what I wanted you guys to notice is that by just simply going to that sound already and stuff, by changing between that accordion sound and this sound, there's a huge difference in terms. This is much more attractive than that accordion sound that really sounded terrible. You understand? Okay, it sounded terrible, but
sounds like the beginning of Alonso Dance.
I don't know it. Okay, cool. But anyway, well, for me, it wasn't attractive in terms of the idea I would like to go. You get what I'm saying? So already by picking, this is how important sounds are. They play a huge role in terms of being able to attract the ear. You understand? And in being able to bring out your rhythm if you want to, right? So if I had this sound without any delay, reverb, this is what I'm hearing. You get what I'm saying? Which is quite pretty loud. Mind you, let me just reduce that, right? This is what I'm hearing. You know, just a simple sound. And then by adding reverb and delay in it, there's a bit of much more attraction in it. You got what I'm saying? Now, so first, you basically decide on the sound one way. Like I said, it's the preset here, but there is another way. Flex gives you an option right here at the bottom here called tags, if you guys can see it, right? If I click on tags, I open up this platform here. Let me just bring that up. Can you guys see it? Right? Tags, I'm going to click on it again. There you go, right? So if you click on tags, now you are able, like in Massive, because Massive does the same thing, you are able to basically then pick a sound according to the characteristics it has. So if I say I want a bell sounding like sound, right, that is, let's say, short. Short can be percussive, or let's say bright, right, and stuff. And then I go to all. Yeah, it will put bell sounds that actually work towards this criteria. So that narrows my search quite a bit. You get what I'm saying? Yes, you understand? So I don't have to spend an hour checking each and every single lead note that's there. Now I've basically kind of had an idea and I can work from there. So I can pick, right now this is what we're using. I'm going to try the DX7 bells. I don't know them. Oh my word. But they are so terrible, I don't like them, right? So, maybe there's something I like from it, you get, that I want to take, right? And that's the bell sound. That's why you can come along and use layering, né? But also, you can tweak it here first before you layer, you understand? So, I can go up here, reduce, because there's some detuning going. Now, what I want you guys to understand, this section here is macros, right? So, they each differ with different sounds. So where maybe if I go to beta, you understand there, beta bell, right? I'm getting a different kind of macros there. You understand? So it will be useless for me to explain each and every single macro. I don't even know it myself. You understand? But it's a nice way to basically get there and know that, okay, no, fine. If I'm working with detuning, I know that it's tuning it from the main, it's kind of detuning it from the main note that I'm playing, right? So I can basically now remove that unattractive sound. I know that I just need to reduce that down. You understand? So these now play a role in how your sound now responds in terms of basically the timbre, you understand, and tonality of the sound. You get? So at least now I know that I'm functioning with a darker sound. So EQ low, I might want that out. I might want the EQ mid out. Let's see how that sounds. Okay, I can bring that up. Still don't like this sound, by the way. Chorus, vibrato. Let's see what happens when we've got vibrato. Woo! That is so terrible. Detune. Woo! Don't like the sound at all. So then I'll go to beta bells. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, guys, no, I still prefer my previous sound. Thank you very much. Right? Cool. So then I'll go to mobile synth plugs, deactivate these, and be able to identify the one that I found, synth plug, calculate, and back to the normal. Do you understand? That's how the basic plugin in terms of sound selection goes, right? Now we go extend further, and we can change its pitch. So if I play it a bit higher, 2 octaves up, I like that. Okay, that's on the key. Can just reduce it by a cent. I actually like that. You get what I'm saying? Preferably, but it will be off key with the rest of the other instruments, so I might be forced to put it there, right? Alt should bring it back to 0. Alt click on the fader should bring it back to 0. That's how you reset on FL. Alt click on a fader on a parameter should bring it back to its original, right, position. Right. So after you've picked the pitch that you want your sound to function in, then you get to filters, right? In this case, in this plugin. So now in this area here, I get to mess with the frequency. I'm just going to reduce that because that's also going to affect it. And actually, I'm going to switch that off for now. Then I know that if I'm here, I'm dealing with the cutoff frequency, right? Raise is resonance. I want the amount to be a bit more, bring the attack a bit back, then I can play around with it. Yeah, that's you understand? Huh? Yeah, really high-pitched birds and stuff. So this filter then basically plays a role. The difference between this filter and this filter, this attends to the whole sound. You understand? So this one is your master filter. Takes care of your whole sound, of which we'll get to. This filter here is attached to an envelope. So this is the one that you can use basically to determine how determine how your filter should open over time, how it should affect your instrument over time. You understand? So you can start maybe on high frequencies. Let me try kind of clone this. Right, get another flex there, and maybe copy what I did here, and pick a sound that that's got legato notes. Where are we now? There you go. So now I'm gonna go to tags. I'm gonna look for something that's got long. I'm gonna go to all again. What do I want? I want something dark also. Let's add a bass. Nothing. Doesn't give me an option. Why is it not giving me an option in what I'm picking? Okay, this thing's text is not working now. Jeez, FL. Yeah, like the sounds are not showing. You guys see that? In any of these. Must have been something I did here. There we go. Ha, mother. Right, cool. So I can come here, bass. Let's go again. Bass. We said dark now? Dark and long. Okay, cool. So let's pick a sound, dark resonance. Let's go there. So now we know that this envelope here basically affects how it works over time. That was in chapter number 1, right? That's your attack, filter, your attack, hold, what's the other word? Delay, sustain, and release. Now, or decay, sorry, and sustain and release. Now what I can do, this then determines the same thing, but now also determines how quick your filter basically acts on your plugin. So let's first apply a filter. Let's just envelope amount that. Let's do that. So now, that doesn't go in. Let me just reduce that again. Woo! Man, that is loud. Right. So now I can basically mess with this parameter to see how the filter reacts over time. Reduce that maybe. Let's not have it hold. Then I can change that parameter. There we go. You understand? So now it takes longer to affect the sound, right? So if I brought it closer, it would open up a bit much more earlier. You get it? But the more I put it that way, let's reduce our hold and maybe reduce our decay. Increase the sustain. If our hold open up more, just bring back all the time. You get what I'm saying? So now that filter is affecting how, that envelope is affecting how my filter reacts over time, right? And then everything else then becomes an overall application, which is then use your master. Your master filter, again, I can come here. Okay, that's really low. Let's bring it on again. Yeah. Then, guys, on each and every parameter on FL, you can right click and create automation. You understand? Which then we could go back to the sound here and, right? And I can now start from here, lift up my resonance a bit, and over time, I can have a build-up that goes with this plugin going this way. Let me just, make it more obvious. Don't lock it. There you go. Alt, 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 Alt. Okay. Cool. Just trying to get it to respond to what's happening here now. I'm not even changing the right instrument, guys, and you're just watching me. What's wrong with you guys? I'm wondering why is there no sound going on. Come on, wait. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, okay, I hear what you're saying. So, less of that. So now, yeah, I'll get to it. I was busy with kind of preparing this now. So I'm gonna go here, and then now I can lift the resonance, and then over time, bring that up as my song builds up. You get what I'm saying? Through automation. Simply because
that automation automatically set, like if you create the automation.
if I create the automation and drive it in that way, I'll show you using another plugin. You understand? Same concept applies. You get what I'm saying? So then if you create automation, you can kind of create that sound build up over time type of scenario. You understand? You can change sounds over time. And another thing that we learned from chapter number 1 was that you can take different parameters and assign them to one oscillator. So if I had two, attach it to one automation lane. If I had two plugins, and in one I'm changing the cutoff filter, in one I'm changing the volume, I can make them work together on one automation clip. Yes, you get what I'm saying? Which again creates a whole new attraction to it. You get? So even in the case of layering, you can do the same thing. From there on, we work on delay, where if I remove this, you can clearly hear there's no delay anymore, right? If I bring it back, you can automate this parameter also and have it build up over time. And let it cut and let it feed through. When this comes back, big drop. You hear what I'm saying? All of a sudden look, this was just an intro of a song. Literally, you've created excitement. You've done more than enough with one instrument and a couple of automation lanes. You understand? Picking your sound is very important, guys. Yeah? Picking your sound, knowing what to do, and knowing what to do with the parameters that you have can set you apart as a producer. You understand? Can make your work much more easier. The what? Yeah. Now that there's more interest towards the plugins themselves because you know how they're working and what you can do with them. Now you don't have to spend 11 grand in buying plugins. You understand? You start home first. Yeah. And make sure that you get that right. By the time you get the other plugins, you know what to tweak to make them work towards yours. Right? Okay, cool. So that adds on to reverb. Reverb, everybody knows what reverb is. Everybody's a producer here by now. Huh? Jeez. I was like, come on, bruh. All right, cool. And then we can go to a limiter, which can kind of help you create that little grit into your sound, right? Add a bit of grit. So I'm going to add that. Then I'm just going to add a bit of that. You understand? Again, parameters of a plugin. Cool. So I'm going to move from there. Then I'm going to go to 3 times oscillator. Now we start with the plugin that gives you oscillators and gives you the ability to create your sound from oscillators, right? Now, oscillators are what you use to generate sounds. They exist in different type of forms. This case, I love this. You can see the type of forms that you can find. You find the sine wave, you find the square wave, right? I'm not sure what wave they call this, but maybe slash square something. It's got a bit of bend. Now it's a bit of mixture of a sine and a square. Let's see how it sounds. I'm just going to reduce the volume here, reduce the volume here. Let's hear how that baby sounds. My word. I did not like that. Did you?
Isn't it a sawtooth?
Sawtooth is here.
Oh, sorry.
No, sawtooth is this one. Yeah, sawtooth is this one. Sawtooth is this one. But what I also like about this plugin is that, if you click here, you can load a wave.
What's that?
Hmm?
Why do you load there?
You can load any wave, as far as I know.
Oh, wave file.
Yeah, wave file.
What would that come to?
Let's see. We'll add a hi-hat. Why not? Open. I'm not gonna like this, am I? Ha! So now I can add a sine wave on top. No, I can't. I can mess with that and kind of mess with. You get, it's a bit granular. A very granular sense that you can apply there, which is quite cool, right? So if you add 3 different waves, maybe if I add a snare there, I might get a different sound, or an 808, I might have something cool to play around with.
That's quite cool.
You understand what I'm saying, right? Simple plugins that we have in FL that we kind of underestimate, right? Because we don't see other producers using it. But let's go back. Now, the parameters here are quite simple. With this core sounds here, let me lift that up. With this core sounds here, you're basically affecting each pitch for each wave that you work in, right? So if I'm working with, right now, my volume is down for this 1, 2 oscillators, right? I just am working with this one. So now, with this, I can change my pitches to bass. Already you've got your bass node. 808 with that, or a kick sound, you've got a bass. You control its envelope using these parameters here. You've got an 808. Done. Did you have to go find one from another producer? No. No.
So can you make that bass line a kick thing?
No, you played alongside a kick.
Oh, a long time ago.
Yeah, and then you record it and you create your own sample pack. Huh? Guys,
No,
I'm also kind of like shocked about this thing.
You said there you have your kick, so I was like...
No, 808. And then you add your kick on top. Yeah, you can play it aside kick, or you can create it as a sub for a bass. So you combine, which is what they teach you on that last project that you need to do in the chapter. Combining these instruments to make one huge sound. So if I had a bass, but I felt like it was missing on the low end, take just one freaking sine wave and play it at its lowest octave, and I've got a low end within my bass already. You understand? And I can determine how fine it is. So this determines the pitch that you're working on. I'm going to bring that up to 24 because I want to show you something. Then this is fine, working in sense, basically fine tuning basically determining on how you want to tune it in and out, and this works to your pan, right? Panning it left and right. So here's the fun thing. You've got 1, 2, 3 oscillators. So I can, if I wanted to, I can have one oscillator, this oscillator. Yes, my second one running that way. And if I bring them together and I play them, let me just raise the volume here. You understand? Now imagine this. You're listening to this via headphones, right? And you're listening to this via headphones. In the hook, you're hearing this. They're playing in the verse, they're playing together in the middle. In the hook, they just start separating. Or as you build up your song, and it's this section, slow section where it starts very low, boo, 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 but it's opening up. It's opening up. You understand? And that's how you can make this much more interesting. You guys see it? Then you can pass it through effects and all that stuff like that with more effects via your mixer. That's more to play around with. Yeah? Lishab, I can see you're looking through your book. It's not going to help. It's stuff that's not there. Yeah? So just pay attention to what I'm doing, but the videos are there for you guys to reference back on. Yeah? Aware. So that you don't spend so much time looking for where are we now? Nah? Yeah, we are not in the book. Yeah. But we are doing somewhat what your last project requires you to do. That's why then I decided, let me just break down the plugins for you. Let's learn further about why we have these parameters and what can we do with these parameters thinking forward. Yeah? Right, cool. So now that you've created this, I was able to bring in a second oscillator. If you noticed, this second oscillator is literally playing at about a pitch of about 19 in this case. I've set it up to 19. So that's what's creating the chord, right? So if I brought it down, this is what you're going to hear. I put it on 4, it's not going to be nice, right? Put it on 5. It's actually quite nice. It's not bad. It's not out of key with what's happening. Yeah, you understand? But preferably 19 set well in terms of just creating a little chord within one synth. That's why I asked you, is it possible that it's the plugin you might be using? Okay, cool. Nah?
I'll bring my laptop.
Yeah, please do. Right? So in this case, if you're paying attention, what happens is I was able to create a chord with one plugin, right? So let's see when I bring in the third one. Maybe I want some low notes there. Now I've got a bit of low notes going in, right? Obviously it's not loud enough, then I can raise it up. Let's try putting this on 5. Oh my God. Oh my word. Okay, cool. Let's see. It's almost there. It's a bit of like detune, but it's not actually, that attractive. But nevertheless.
But is 1 and 2 left and right now on the panel?
1 and 2 is left and right? Of which Alt click will bring it in the middle, like I said. Then we can work on that. Maybe we can try picking a different sound. Oh my word. A bit of bars in there, but I'm playing it very low on the volume. You get? Now I've created a sound that I can take, add reverb into it, and just add chorus and expand it even further. You get? Cool. So that is oscillator, 3 times oscillator, right? You use it?
And GMS.
Yeah, GMS is fun.
And Harmless.
You use Harmless? Yeah, Harmless for me. I've never until recently, but I'm like, I still don't like it.
I say use it, but I'm playing around with it.
Oh, okay, just checking what it does, basically. I'll show you its concept, its approach, then you'll love it even more. Right? Cool. Then we move to GMS. Now, GMS takes 3 times oscillator to the next level, right? So with GMS, right now, like 3 times oscillator, I can choose 3 different waves or waves to use. You understand? Whether sine or saw, or there are many ways. There are actually a combination of a lot here, right? But you choose 3 different ones or 3 of the same ones if it be, and create your tone, right? And then from there, determine its pitch like we did, which is this section, determine how fine it is, and then oscillator 2 and 3 allow you to dial it in, including with some noise if you want to. You understand? So if we listen to GMS, I'll mute everything. Yeah, it's what you start with.
Yeah.
Jealous. Right, cool. So then I can then dial in a bit more of the sawtooth into it. You understand? Maybe have it in the middle there. Maybe lift that up an octave. You get what I'm saying? Through something that simple, guys. Just, you are here. Right now, you're here. That's all. That's where you are. You're here. You haven't even gotten here. You understand? And already you've created something that can create interest. You understand? Sounds go a very long way. Being able to know what to do with the parameter will take you quite far as a producer. Rather spend time developing your sound than spend time developing an idea. Because you can cluster your idea, but when you have sounds, good sounds, your idea can be simple and still sound good. You get? Which is the difference. So now I go further and I might want to add some couple of harmonics into it by increasing these voices here. You get? Detuning a bit. Huh? Oh, wait. Huh? That was detuning. So first I added voices, right? Then I started detuning those voices using this knob here. Right. Cool, right? And then you can decide, do I want it to act as a bass or do I want it to act as a lead or a pad? So I can go higher, right? And I can bring it lower. Which kind of sound? Let's have it in the middle again, right? Cool, right? I can have maybe close that detune. I can turn on my oscillator, my second oscillator to be a phase. You understand? Because now these are different sine waves, right? So I'm shifting them to phase the other same sine waves. And I can't show you this here. I literally have to live. Let me see. I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna walk. So if I'm introducing a phase, this guy won't be able to see. Hi guy, can you see here? Right, cool. This is where we are now. Can you, the rest of you guys see, right? Yeah, but whoever's in the camera needs to see this too, right? So the phase part is, let's say I've already got a sine wave working there. Oh no, this is a very bad pen. Guy on the camera won't be able to see. Just trying to show you the concept of what that plugin is doing. And then you've got your second oscillator, so that's oscillator number 1, right? My second oscillator, let's say maybe is a square. You understand? So what's happening is when you are now introducing the whole phase, what do you call this, knob, basically altering it, you are shifting how this and these are working together in a relationship. So if I introduce a phase, I'm going to grab another pen just to show you. Let's say maybe I'm shifting my second oscillator, right? Which in this case will be my square oscillator. Now my square oscillator is functioning maybe from here, just a tad bit. You understand? And how that sounds in comparison to the first one is going to be different. Because what's happening is it's cutting in different areas. This one is deducting from what the sine wave is doing up here, it's deducting here. Right? Because that's positive, that's negative. You understand? So how they are reacting now is creating a whole new sound just by moving this a bit to the left or more to the right. You understand? So if you're dialing this thing in, that's what's basically happening in your plug-in. So I'm going to bring back camera guy right here. I'm not sure if he's going to see me further on, but that's a pretty good guess if we are here. Maybe let's bring him here a bit. Okay, cool. So now if I'm playing this sound, I've reduced my detune. I'm going to let that phase in. See if it triggers it. Oh wait, but then my oscillator 2 is low. Sorry guys. Let me just raise. Let's bring this down to 12 to 0. Let's bring that up. Turn it on. And I'm actually triggering it. So I'm shifting this sound back and forth using my oscillator. Now it's causing a phase. You get what I'm saying? Then from there, you've determined your sound. You're happy with it. Now it's time to apply filters. So now I've got my tonality. Now it's time to take away, right? So now I can come here, have a low pass filter on, and then I can just, what's going on now? Thank you. Play around with that, increase my resonance, and I can automate this if I want to, right? But let me show you something. Now, again, this, like in Flex, is basically your envelope, right? Being applied on your filter, and how it reacts will determine how you set it up. Let's go to what I like, this LFO here. I'm gonna LFO the filter using a sine wave. You understand? So I'm gonna like add a bit of low frequency oscillation using a sine wave on my sound. So it's gonna change how my sound sounds going forward. So if I place rate is more of how much or how often do you want this LFO to react? You understand? How quick? Low frequency oscillator, right? So it's like it's a frequency you can't hear, né? But it's causing a certain parameter to modulate back and forth. You understand? Right. So that shape of that frequency is decided by your sine, your saw, you see these options that you see here, right? Cool. So I'm just gonna make it sync. I'm gonna put it on beat. I'm gonna use half bass, and I'm just gonna make that I'm gonna make that amount quite a lot. Listen to what happens to your bass now. You get what I'm saying? Let me just bring it up because I might have reduced the sound now.
By the filter.
By the filter? Here, no? Let me. This filter, yeah.
Yeah, but the lift.
What do you mean? Oh, what? This?
No.
This. What? Yeah, but I want that effect. So what I'm gonna do is then I'm just gonna raise my amplitude rather. You get. Then I get more volume nevertheless, because it's still cut out. I still want the cutout effect, nevertheless. Okay, cool. So now, by amount, you can also escalate that or have nothing. You get, again, more automation. Literally, you've changed your song 4 times by just doing one sound and oscillate and automation on top, right? So the effect, I can add it on if I want, and then that rate determines on how quick it does it. You get what I'm saying? And that is working on the filter. But if you know what you're doing, again, you'll know what to do to achieve what you have in mind. Right. I used to think people used to sequence this type of thing in. You know, that whole effect that's going on. Yeah. I kept on trying. I remember I would sit sleepless nights trying to sequence the damn little effect. Yeah, and it just never came out right. You get what I'm saying? But it was freaking parameters that were already available that I could have just automated to have all this shit going on, right? Cool. Right. Then you get your envelope here, which we spoke about in the first lesson, whereby you've got your release, attack, sustain, and decay, right? Then we have what I like about, I actually wonder if I actually combine this and the LFO here, how it's going to sound. I'm wondering. So we'll test that out. But we've got glide. Glide basically gives you a portamento effect on your plugin.
Portamento.
Yes, portamento, right? So it's like, so one note glides to the next instead of actually hearing your transient kick in. You understand? So instead of hearing this, yeah, you're going to hear it glide in further. Yeah, it's almost like a curve, yes. Right, that's not hard enough. Let's bring that in. Let me bring some more high frequencies so you can hear a bit much more. You hear that? Right? Yeah. And then let's add some couple of what do you call this, LFO into it. Woo! Yeah. That's gonna be a sign, dude. Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Now I wanna go produce now. Shit. All right, cool, guys. That was fun. See you guys next week. You guys can go, right? Cool. But That's the awesome part about knowing your parameters. What more do you want from FL?
I'm gonna have a long night tonight, I can tell you that.
Away, right? Cool. Further on, we add effects onto the sound. For example, because it's the bass, yeah?
Sorry, I'll let this class in. I'll let this class in.
What do you mean how late? I've got until 1:30. With you guys, I've got until 1:30. I think. We started at 1, yes. 1:30. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, now we can add effects, right? Because of the sound, you won't be able to hear the effects properly that I add. But I can put reverb in, right? And play.
You put reverb in there, so you don't have to put it on your mixer as well.
By doing this here, what you are doing is basically reducing CPU power that's being used. Because if you had to go now add a reverb plugin, it's also going to require its own CPU, yes, usage.
So it would be best to
Do it here. Yeah. Just the thing is, the most important part is make sure that it's still good in the mix.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, you understand? Don't add too much reverb and then send that to, oh my word, send that to your mixing engineer and hope he can fix it. For the life of God, he won't be able to because it's a wave. You understand? So make sure that it's more of application adding value to my production more than, you understand? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I can add reverb. How you deactivate the reverb is by switching off on this glue part, right? But how you mess with its parameter, look at the parameter X and parameter Y. Literally, if I shift this around, I'm getting different reverb effects. This determines the amount of reverb I'm getting in, right? And if there's any form of LFO that's going on, again, it's being applied using these parameters here, right? So I've got now my sound. I think if I go here, because this is feedback, so I want more feedback. There we go. Ah man, some delay there. And then cut. Wait for a banyana. Yeah, man. And everybody's bumping their head. Like, you know what I'm saying? And imagine doing this even in a live setup. You understand? So now you take certain parameters, you allocate them to certain areas on your control, and you pull this stance and you're producing live. The only thing you're doing is changing one freaking instrument over time. And you've managed to entertain the crowd for a good 5 minutes. You've decorated their time, basically. That's what they call it. Music decorates your time, while drawing and design decorates space. Right? Cool. So that is the GMS plugin. Now, I think I've spoken about Flex, GMX, and Harmless. Now we're going to get to Harmless. But before I get to Harmless, I'm going to play a video based on, what you call this thing? I'm going to play a video based on Harmonics, right, on YouTube. This guy explains Harmonics very simply, but then I'm going to take what he's done and expand further by showing you how Absinthe works. Then from Absinthe, you understand how the plugin Morphine works and how Harmless works. You get? Or Harma, for that matter, also same concept, right? So we speak about the concept of the harmonic series. You guys know that? You guys, harmonic series? No. Okay. So harmonic series is basically based on, and literally, guys, like if you understand this, you're gonna be like, huh, plugins. Some certain plugins are crazy. For example, that's when I realized Absinthe and its true potential, right? But yeah, it's a native instrument plugin, right? So, but again, Morphine, same thing, right? It's just that Absinthe for me was like, that's where I was like, because I really doubted Absinthe. You understand? I was like, I don't see its functions except its preset until I understood the concept of harmonics, and I was like, okay, mind blowing, right? Cool. But in the harmonics way of doing things, guys, it's just have to understand, or harmonics as harmonic series, is that there's a fundamental in each note that you play. If you play A, right, or if you play a note, so I play, where's my A? Oh man, Fruity's down. I'm not on FL right now. Cool, there we go. If I play A, what's my A? Let me just find a sound that we can all work on. GMS is the one that's actually quite loud right now. That's the one that's really kind of creating the sound. Okay, so if I play A, right, what's basically happening is that there's a fundamental frequency that's happening, right? So if I play A at a certain level of, let's say maybe, I think it's C3 or A3, somewhere there, it'll be 440, I'm not sure, mind you. But A in one of its octave has a value of 440 hertz. You understand? Then its octave is 880. No? But what happens is an octave higher is 880, meaning that the pitch or the frequency or the vibration is happening twice as fast. You understand? Basically, harmonic series says this, that there's a fundamental note that you have, right, that you can play with. In this case, on our side, would be A, right? But everything that you are hearing that contributes to the texture and tone of the sounds are the overtones created through playing A. So, not only are you hearing the fundamental frequency that's sitting at 440, but you're also hearing 880 and also other frequencies that are happening either 2 times as fast, 3 times as fast, 4 times to infinity. You understand? That video will break it down. Literally, I'm going to break it down. He's going to break it down even clearer, right? So you're going to have a fundamental frequency that will exist, but whenever you listen to this, whenever you're pressing one note, you are hearing other overtones playing that create and contribute to one note, and that's what determines the texture and tone of your sound. And due to that, certain instruments will sound different from others, right? Even though you are pressing the same key. For example, a flute and a guitar will sound different, and that is not only due to the fact that they're using wood to create the instrument or the size of the instrument. Those contribute to the reason why you're hearing the texture, because they influence the harmonics of the sounds and those overtones, which overtones are louder than the other. So right now I'm probably confusing you. Let me let that Chinese guy speak to you. He's going to explain everything properly. And I'm only going to need to play about, I think, 6 minutes of his video. And then from there, we can dab it even a bit further. Let me just sign in. YouTube. Where's my Chinese guy? Where is he? How? Seriously, come on, man. Switch account. And it's not gonna allow me to. Hey! Now I have to sign in again. This thing is an idiot. It's my problem with, what do you call this? Google. When you've signed in with multiple accounts, it doesn't allow you to switch between accounts easily. On all accounts, for that matter. They really need to sort that out. It's 2020 now. Although they're like the most ahead, I must say. They are the most ahead in terms of like, right now they're the ones who are benefiting from COVID. They are benefiting for days. This guy. Okay, let's take you there.
Yo, what up? This is Lorenz 1500 Nothing. I'm a producer, songwriter, and co-founder of 1500s.
The sign.
Okay.
Hey, it's Andrew Huang. Today's video is about the #1
Guys,
most
pay
mind-blowing
attention so you can
thing
understand
I've
where
ever
we're
learned
going.
about music. It's absolutely fundamental to how sound works and why we like the music we like, but a lot of people never learn about it. Even people like me, growing up in a musical family, learning lots of different instruments, studying music theory, I never even encountered this concept until I was 18 and went to university for music. What we're talking about is the Harmonics series. Have a listen. The pitches in this series occur in nature, they're completely consistent, and they're quietly audible almost anytime you hear a musical note. So every note is actually a whole bunch of tiny notes put together, with one exception that we'll also take a look at. I guess it's really notable. Note. Whenever you play a note, you'll be hearing a mix of these higher, quieter notes along with it, which we call harmonics or overtones. And I should clarify that it's not necessarily the exact pitches you heard in our example. The harmonics are all going to be relative to whatever note you're playing. And there's a very simple pattern behind that. Basically, every time you play a note, you're also going to be hearing a little bit of the frequency that's twice as fast, and a little bit of the frequency that's 3 times as fast, and the one that's 4 times as fast, 5 times as fast, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. All of the integer multiples of that original note's frequency, theoretically to infinity, but in reality, only the first handful are really audible. So let's take a look at this bass guitar. The whole length of this string is vibrating, and that's what determines what note we hear, but it's also simultaneously vibrating in other modes. Here's a little diagram to illustrate. So you've got the main loudest note that you hear, the fundamental, and that is vibrating the whole length of the string. So if you picture this string wobbling back and forth, that wave is traveling all the way down the length of the string and all the way back. What we're also hearing, quieter, is the integer multiples of that wave. So we're hearing the wave that's twice as fast, and we're hearing the wave that's 3 times as fast, and so on. The same kind of thing happens in wind instruments where it's a certain length column of air that's resonating. So these additional waves are the harmonics, and depending on your instrument, on its design, on its shape and size, also on the way that you play it, the volume of these different harmonics can be quite different. That's why plucking a string towards its end sounds different than plucking it closer towards the middle. By plugging it in different places, the additional modes of vibration, the harmonics, may be strengthened or weakened. That's also why 2 different instruments playing the exact same note can sound completely different. The main note that they're playing, the lowest one, the fundamental, is actually completely identical, and it's just the mixture of harmonics that give each instrument its own unique character. So for example, check this out. I've got a clarinet and a guitar both playing an F here. Very easy to tell which is which, even though they're playing these tiny little notes. Let's check them out in a spectrum analyzer. Firstly, I hope you're noticing all the harmonics showing up. There are all these distinct points above the main note. There are more and more of them, and they get closer together as you go higher, but also once you get past a certain point, they start to tail off. Notice that with the guitar sound, a lot of the lower harmonics are stronger than in the clarinet. Actually, the guitar's first harmonic, its first overtone. The fundamental counts as a harmonic, and that's the one difference between the terms harmonic and overtone. The guitar's first overtone, technically the second harmonic, is stronger than the fundamental, it looks like. But now let's see what happens if I put a brick wall EQ curve there and start sweeping down.
So now he's removing those harmonics one by one.
Now both of them sound basically identical. We're just hearing that pure fundamental F tone. If your mind isn't blown yet, I don't know what to tell you. You're difficult to impress, or you already knew about this, and why are you watching? Now here's an interesting thing. Overtones don't have their own overtones. Unlike the fundamental, they are pure tones without their own harmonic series. They'll sound kind of like our guitar and clarinet did when we filtered all of the harmonics away down to just the fundamental. It's a very simple, dull, plain tone. A tone that has no harmonics is a sine wave. Therefore, all harmonics are sine waves. Now what the is a sine wave? A sine wave is the...
Okay, so we know up to thus far. Do you guys understand the concept of harmonics, right? Now let's go back and let's deal with what plugins can do. Right, so let's go to Absinthe. Look at that, I opened the wrong window. Okay, Absinthe, right there, right? Absinthe, we've got this baby right here. I'm just gonna open him up. And then I'm gonna say new, and I want to change this to, let me just load another one because I don't know how to remove. Let me see. Yeah, it's going to be a bit, because I don't know how to remove one, but I know how to work on one as yet. So let's go to Absinthe, let's load that. Then I can go here, delete that baby right there. Okay, cool. So now I go to patch. Then I'm just going to start with a this thing, sine wave, right? So what he said is sine waves do not have any overtones, no harmonies, right? Harmonics, right? So cool. If I play this, is what you hear, right? You're not hearing harmonics at all. You understand? Just the pure tone of a sine wave, right? Now let's go look at it from the spectrum. If I go there, notice that is just the fundamental frequency that is there, right? This is what he's talking about basically. So then I go and decide to add some harmonics. So I started with the sine wave. That was my intention. I'm creating my own sound, right? I'm just going to raise some harmonics up, right? It's really up to you, right? Hear me when I play now. Just by adding a few harmonics, right? The higher you go up here, the more higher frequencies you're adding. So if I start reducing here now, I'll just do it like this. I've created a different sound, right? So now, would you say this is still a sine wave? No. Exactly. Why? Exactly. So then the shape would be this. That's what I just created now, that wave, right? Now, you take this, right, and you go back to patch, and you combine it with another one, and you combine it with another one, and you've got a whole new sound that you've created from scratch. Understand? Then we go back to harmless, right? And that's basically the fundamental of harmless. Terrible sound to start with. Definitely terrible sound to start with, right? But if I go and decide, okay, fine, this is the parameter that mixes all the harmonies in, right? And I go now, play it now. Much more attractive. Maybe I want less high frequencies. You get? And you can mess around with that. Basically, that's what is harmless comes from, and harmor and morphine. You understand? They work on the same concept. Shape your sound using the harmonics that come with the fundamentals. From there, after you've determined your sound, that's when you move here and start filtering and adding effects, choruses, etc.
That's it all, man. The rest of them confuse me. There's so many things there, I don't know.
There is the video that I included, the video series that I included. It's about 3 minutes per video. They literally break down this section to detail. They break down this section to detail, and they break down this section to detail. But do know that this is where you create your sound. Né? From further on, this is where you start taking away from your sound, and then start adding a bit of effects through compression, choruses, and modulation of your sound on harmless, right? Okay, cool. As I'm running out of time, I want to do the last 2 things, and I'm going to use this oscillator 3 times. We've just changed it now because it's got that hatch wave that we've got going on. But this was the sound that we ended on, right? Cool. Now, we're going to come to something that they call sliding notes on FL, right? Most people now wonder, because not all plugins have got the portamento effect on it, right? But FL goes to an extent, and it's like, you know what? Let's give you your own portamento where you can have a whole lot of control over it, right? A whole lot of control over it. You can even control its length, right? So what can you do? So you've heard those little crazy basses, that go ahead on hip hop. Yes, those. And you are wondering what the hell is happening?
This is the language that they used to speak to the ancestors.
And this is what the ancestors decided to put in place for you to be able to communicate. The sliding notes.
Exactly.
Right? Ancestors were like, yes, we need to hear them. They need to hear us. Yes. Away. So with this, I can now, by going here, look at the difference, right? This note is plain. The only thing you're seeing is the key, basically the pitch information on the note, right? As soon as I go to this triangle here, right, I can now go and add a sliding note. So I see F sharp here, right? I'm just going to edit that. Do know that a sliding note is definitely silent. Yeah? You won't hear a sound when it's on its own. It has to be accompanied by a normal note, right? So if I remove this and I play this, you're not hearing a sound. if I remove this and if I bring it back and I play this, you understand? Huh? On the other one, because it's sliding the other note.
Can you put the slide the octave down?
Yes. Oh, dude, yes. You can definitely bring it down. Was it F sharp, no? You understand? And so on. That's what you can play with. You understand? More so over. So now you have this advantage where you can play around here. Let's just take it to F sharp again. And what was the other one? I'll use D, and let me just move that here. And then I'll move to C here, sharp. So then when you play around now, maybe this is the bass frequency. And then, you know, up, then you can take it to a specific position. Let me see if I put it here, how it sounds. Literally, from one idea to the next by using the sliding notes, you understand? And an interesting sound. You can create something awesome. Okay, so further on from there, now you need to basically route your channel, this specific channel, to your mixer, right? Which is something they also didn't kind of clarify on the textbook. How you go about that, you can either increase the number here to the specific position you want, right? But the one that I generally like, which also kind of recolors and names your channel, is by basically selecting, right, that specific instrument and going right click and going route to this channel. And as you can see here, right? Now obviously the understanding is that this mixer, if I've got this channel selected, I'm messing basically with this parameters here. So whatever parameters I'm working on here affect this. As you can see, it's called Hect Basic, and that's the sound I've got there. So if I go here then, right, on channel number 6, I'm affecting it through using this platform. Do know that the more, when you select here, whatever plugin you add here will affect this channel. So if you want to affect this channel, you first have to select before you add a plugin. So always watch out for that. Yeah. Now I can go and find that fast distortion sound or blood overdrive if I want to, and have an interesting bass sound or frequency that's going on with that distortion sound. And basically I've added a plugin. I've created in less than 10 minutes or 5 minutes an interesting sound and good progression. You understand? Right, guys. That's it for this class, today's class. You guys can take a 10-minute break and see you guys next week.
Thank you, sir.
Away.